So I do want to welcome everyone to today's session, RefWorks Power Hour, Introduction to RefWorks. My name is Marisha Kelly and I'm one of the reference and instruction librarians with NCU Library. Today's session will introduce you to RefWorks, which is our research management tool. And we will be going over a variety of different features, including creating an account, adding references, as well as creating a bibliography. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. I do want you all to know that this session is being recorded and a link will be emailed to you within 24 to 48 hours. So that being said, please don't feel like you have to take every note. I do also want you to keep in mind that RefWorks is a software application, so it will take time to learn how to use it and leverage its features in a way that makes the most sense for you. So with RefWorks, you are creating your own personal database of resources, and how you organize those resources is really up to you. So we'll talk a little bit about those organization features. Also, this session is not intended to go over APA style. However, we will touch a little bit on APA since one of the features of RefWorks is that you can create an APA formatted reference list. Now, if you do have questions about APA style and writing guidelines, I do encourage you to visit with my teammates over in the Academic Success Center and review a tool called Academic Writer. And if you're logged in through your NCU One course portal, if you click on Resource Centers, you actually have a direct link to the Academic Success Center. And on this page, you do have access to some APA style materials, as well as a link to access Academic Writer. And Academic Writer does include sample APA paper templates and citation examples by resource. So if you needed to know how to cite a book in APA format or how to cite a journal article in APA format, you can essentially refer back to the electronic guide that's provided within the tool. And then any questions you have related to APA style or those writing guidelines, you can always chat with my teammates in the ASC, and you also have their contact information posted on this page. Last couple of things here before we get started and go over today's material. If you do have a question during today's session, please feel free to type it into the chat box. I'll do my best to answer as we go along, or feel free to mute your microphone and ask your question verbally if you are muted. And again, everybody will be receiving a copy of today's recording within 24 to 48 hours, so I hope that this session will help. If not, with feeling 100% confident with using RefWorks, at least mildly comfortable. So we'll go ahead and get logged into the library here. Now there are a couple of different access points for RefWorks through the NCU Library's homepage. So under How Can I, you have a direct link to access the RefWorks Library Guide. You can also click on our Library Guides tab and scroll through the alphabetical list for RefWorks. And then you also have a direct link to RefWorks from our A to Z databases list. And if you're not familiar with A to Z, this is a complete list of all of the databases that you have access to as a student. So I'm going to go ahead and click into our Access RefWorks link here. Now this page exists 24/7, so you can always refer back to the guide content and information that is posted on this page. And a lot of what we will cover in today's session is actually outlined in the tabs over here on the left-hand side. I do want to point out a couple of different things on this page. If you'd like to join another session, we have RefWorks Power Hour every week. So if you need a refresher, by all means, feel free to register. And then we also offer our RefWorks on-demand appointment service. So if you're anything like me, usually the questions come after you've attended a training session. So feel free to book a one-on-one if you have questions about installing some of the respective plugins and tools for RefWorks, if you have any specific questions related to some of those features in relation to what you've already added to your RefWorks dashboard, or if you just need some assistance with troubleshooting an issue that you have. So you can click into the booking calendar here and schedule a one-on-one whenever you need to. So I'm going to go ahead and log into RefWorks. I'll make note here that there is a tab to access the legacy version of RefWorks. This is the old version of RefWorks for students who are kind of grandfathered in. So everybody should be using this first tab here. And before I actually log in, if you do not yet have an account with RefWorks, on this tab here, Introduction to RefWorks and Account Creation, you can follow the steps and review the different screenshots to get your account. You will click on that tab, and then it will ask you to log in with your NCU school email and then the password that you use to log into your courses. And from there, you're automatically granted access to your RefWorks profile where you will confirm your NCU school email address, and then you'll fill out your profile. So moving forward, you'll just sign in as you normally would to any NCU resource using that NCU school email and your password. There is a second step that you must complete related to your account, and that is to set up an alternate password. And I'll show you the screens here since I've already completed this, and my screens look slightly different. But once you've created that account, once you are logged into the system, you'll want to click on your name in the top corner and click on your settings. And under settings, if you scroll down through this page, you'll see a section that says alternate password, and you'll want to create an alternate password. This alternate password will allow you to use some of the respective plugins and tools for RefWorks, specifically RefWorks for Microsoft Word, and then RefWorks for Google Docs if that's your chosen word processing software of choice. So you'll need that in order to access either one of those tools. Otherwise, you'll simply log in using, again, your NCU school email address and your password. So go over here and we'll get logged in. And I'm already logged in from a previous session, so I'm not going to hit that NCU login screen, but you will if it's your first time accessing that page. All right, so I'm logged in. We'll give it a minute to load here, but just so you know the trajectory for today's workshop, what we'll do is we'll cover all of these different menu items and tabs. Then we'll talk about how to get content into RefWorks, and then we'll round out our session with how to create a bibliography. So we'll start over here in the top right-hand corner. Again, if you click on your name, you'll have access to your settings. So this is where you will want to create that alternate password. You'll see that I have access to a language tab. I just want to stress here that this is to change the language of the interface, not to change the language of your resources. So just keep that in mind. I know I found a good amount of articles written in a native language. Just know that this is not a translation tool. You have a link back to the NCU Library. And then most important, you can see that I'm currently working in a project called EDU 5800. So in RefWorks, there are actually 3 major ways that you can organize your content. And first level way is through the use of projects. And think of projects as their own instance of RefWorks. So maybe this week you're working on assignment 3, which requires a specific set of resources, but next week you're working on assignment 4 and you're using a completely different list of sources and you want to keep those separated. If you click on this caret, this icon here, you can see that I have different projects in the works already. There are sharing capabilities in RefWorks. We won't be covering these today, but know that you can share your projects with other RefWorks users and members of the NCU community. And then you do have access to your projects manager. And this is where you can create new projects for yourself. So if you wanted to create a new project, you can click on this blue tab here, title your project respectively, and then go ahead and hit save. And then to the right of each project, you do have some action items. So you can rename a project. Again, you've got sharing capabilities. You can set something as your default project, your current project, and then you can delete the project altogether. For many of you, if it's your first time working in RefWorks, the default project that you'll see displayed is called Untitled Project. So know that you can change the name by clicking on Actions and renaming that project, or you can come into your Projects Manager and start a fresh project altogether. And I'll actually click into my dissertation project here since I do have a lot of good examples that we can work through. All right, so that takes care of everything in the top navigation. So I'm going to switch gears and we're going to talk about the tabs over here on the left-hand side. And you can see the main tab that I'm on currently is our All References tab. And All References is just that. It's any reference that you've added to your RefWorks dashboard since the beginning of time for this particular project. So you can see that we're currently viewing one of 50 of 408 references in my dissertation project. You do have a couple of different display options, so you can display up to 2,000 references at a time. So one thing I do want to mention here with RefWorks is that you have unlimited storage. So you can store as many references, as many resources as you would like. The only cap in RefWorks is the size of the files that you're saving to the tool. So if your file exceeds 15 megabytes, it will not save to the system. So just be conscious of your file size as you're attaching documents or uploading any documents. They do have to be less than 15 megabytes. You can also see that my dashboard is currently set to citation view. So for many of you, the default is normal view, but I do recommend setting your dashboard to citation view. That way you can preview the reference. And you can see that I do have mine set to APA 7, sentence casing with the full DOI. If you have not set your citation style output, you can go ahead and click on the view settings, and you will want to click on this gear here, which will bring up the citation view settings search. And from this drop down, you can do a search for APA 7. And you'll notice that there are different variations of APA style, and this is to combat against certain formatting from different databases and resources, but the uniform version of this style that you will want to use in RefWorks is this APA 7 sentence casing with the full DOI link, so https://doi.org. And then you can hit save. And this will allow you to preview any of your saved resources in that particular format. And you'll notice that as we're scrolling through some of my references, RefWorks has flagged certain areas of my reference where I may be missing information. So one thing I want you to keep in mind is that RefWorks is a tool. It is not perfect. So anytime you are adding content, you are saving resources to RefWorks, just make sure that the information in that record is accurate, that it is complete. If you are missing any information, again, RefWorks may notify you that you're missing, in this case, issue number and page numbers, but you can always edit this information. So I've clicked on this particular reference and you'll see that this right pane opens, and this contains all of the information related to this particular resource. And again, it looks like I'm missing an issue and a series of page numbers. So at any point in time, I can edit this record by clicking on that pencil icon, and all of these different fields are editable. So I can go ahead and key in my issue number if I know I'm missing that. I can go ahead and add in my page numbers, and then I can go ahead and hit save. So again, anytime you add content to the tool, just make sure that it contains all of the necessary information for that record. And anything that is in this record is what will be reflected when you go to create that reference list. So if you are missing page numbers, if you are missing volume issue numbers, those will not populate in your reference list. So again, you want to make sure that your records are complete and that they are accurate. Last thing you have here is the sort by option, so you can sort the references in your project by date added, access published, title, author, and then ref ID, which is a unique ID number that RefWorks assigns to your resources as you save them to the tool. All right. Last imported is just that. It's anything that we've recently imported into RefWorks within the last 30 days. So you can see the last time I added something to this project was a few days ago on July 30th at exactly 8:48 a.m. Everything here, again, is accessible for 30 days. And after 30 days, you can always access your resources either through your All References tab or through your My Folders. So again, this is just a quick access feature to see what you've recently added. I'm going to go ahead and skip over sharing, but again, you do have sharing capabilities with other RefWorks users. But let's go ahead and click into My Folders. Now again, 3 major ways that you can organize content in RefWorks. First level way is through the use of projects, and then within projects, you can file your content through personal folders. Now you do have this Not in Folder folder, and this is a standard folder in any RefWorks project, and it contains any resources or content that you have not specifically filed away. So you can see I have 403 items in my folder here. To add a folder, you can click on the plus icon and we'll create a folder for today's date. I'll go ahead and hit save here. So you can see that I've added a personal folder. And then if you want to save any of your resources to a specific folder, there's a number of different ways that you can do that. You can use a drag and drop method, so you can easily drag those particular references into that folder. You can select multiple items and add them to a folder by dragging them there. And you can also select multiple items, and you'll see that this Assign To folder becomes blue and active, so I can easily select the folder from my list and apply those items there. Now to the right of each folder, you do have some action items, so you can add a subfolder, you can rename that folder. Again, you can share content with other RefWorks users. You also have a Find Duplicates tool, and I do recommend running this tool periodically, either at the folder level or at the project level. You've got tools and Find Duplicates. With RefWorks, you do want a clean database. You certainly don't want duplicate content, because that will affect how you create that reference list and how you add those in-text citations. So it's good to kind of run that cleanup, make sure you only have one instance of every reference that you've added. And then the last thing you have here is the delete option. I do want to stress that deleting a folder does not delete the references in that folder. Okay, so if I delete this August 5th folder that we've just created, those 10 references are actually going to cycle back to my general catch-all folder. So you can see that went from 393 to 403. Last thing you have here for folders is your sort option. So you can sort your folders either alphabetically or use a custom drag drop. So you can kind of shimmy your folders in whatever order makes sense for you. All right, so again, first level way to organize content is through the use of projects. Second level way is through the use of personal folders. And then the third level way is actually through the use of tags. And think of tags as keywords that you have assigned to your specific resources to make them searchable within your database. Now, tags can either be author-generated or publisher-supplied when you save content to RefWorks, or you can also append your own tags to whatever resource is. So go ahead and click into a resource here to see if we can find some tags. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this resource, but you can see that this resource has a lot of associated tags with it already. Again, either author generated or publisher supplied, but you can add your own tags. So let's just say I used this in assignment 5 or 6. Maybe I used this in my literature review and I want to tag it with that term. One thing I do want you to keep in mind with tags is that you want to be consistent with how you apply your tags. So you can see as I'm typing literature review, I have different ways that this term has been applied. So make sure that you choose a standard format in terms of how you apply these tags. So know that spacing counts, spelling counts, capitalization counts, right? So I've got lowercase, I've got title case, I've got all caps. So again, make sure you stick to one. That way everything is filed accordingly when you go to search for that particular tag and the resources associated with it. And I'll go ahead and hit save. And then if you wanted to search those resources, so let's just say I wanted to search anything that I have tagged with assignment 6, and again, you want to be cautious with how you apply your tags. Make sure you stick to a standard naming convention, but I'll go ahead and click our title case tag here. You can see that this is a list of everything that I've tagged assignment 6. Or if I wanted to see everything that I've tagged with literature review, here's a list of all of those different resources. So while that loads, again, 3 major ways that you can organize content. You can organize through projects, folders, and then by way of tags. So here's a list of everything that I have tagged under that literature review term. All right. Last tab that we have here is our deleted tab, and our deleted tab is just that. It's any reference that you have deleted from your RefWorks project. So just to go back to my folder here, let's just say I no longer had a need for this particular reference. I can select that reference and you'll see that this delete tab becomes blue and active. So I can go ahead and delete that reference and place it into the trash. Now, things in your deleted tab will remain here for 30 days, and after 30 days, they will be permanently removed from your RefWorks project. So if you delete something accidentally, it's nothing to be too concerned about. There's this safety net of sorts, so you can always come back to your deleted tab, click on that reference and you'll see that this undo button becomes blue and active, and you can restore that reference back to your folders. Okay. So that takes care of everything on our left navigation here. So I'm going to move to our top navigation. I will circle back to adding content. We already talked about assigning content to folders. Again, you do have sharing capabilities, but one feature I will point out is that you are able to export your references, so things that you've saved to RefWorks in multiple formats, including a tab delimited or XML file, which is compatible with Excel. So if you wanted to see your references in that type of format, you can certainly do that. I'll circle back to creating a bibliography. We did talk about how to delete a reference. With adding tags, you do have an option to mass assign tags to selected references. So if I wanted to apply a tag to all of these references simultaneously, I can do that. And let's spend a little bit of time in tools. So again, you do have that find duplicates tool, that cleanup option available at the project level. But under tools, you also have a section or an area for dedicated tools that you can use with RefWorks. And the first tool is the Save to RefWorks tool, and this is a tool that allows you to scan the bibliographic content of a web page and save that content to your RefWorks dashboard. And I'll show you how this works when we talk about adding content, but you do need to install this on your browser. So very important, make sure that your bookmarks toolbar is visible. And then you'll click on Install Save to RefWorks, and you'll actually drag this little button to your toolbar. And that'll mean that it is installed, and you can see I have mine here. So that's the first tool. The second tool is the RefWorks plugin for Microsoft Word. Everyone here should be using RefWorks Citation Manager if you use Microsoft Word 2016 or above. It is also compatible with any Apple products. So I do recommend that you use this version of the tool since it's the most recent update. There is the Write and Cite version. This is an older version of the tool. And it's a little bit more archaic with how it's displayed on the screen. But the one that we'll be discussing, and I'll show you how to install today, is the RefWorks Citation Manager, and that's done directly through Microsoft Word. So we'll cover that in just a little bit when we talk about creating a bibliography. But know that you have access and information related to those tools under this tab. And then the last tab that you have in that top navigation is your advanced search tab. So give it a minute here to load. All right, so that advanced search tab is right here. So at any point in time, you can search your personal database of resources by title, author, date. Maybe I want to see a list of all of the resources that have been published in 2020. So I can pull that list up. Maybe I want to search for a particular author and those resources by that author that I've added to the tool. So again, you can use this to search for different resources within your database that you've already added. Right, so that takes care of all of the different menu options and tabs within RefWorks. So let's go ahead and move into adding content to RefWorks. So in RefWorks, there are actually 5 major ways that you can add content to the tool. 3 of the ways are actually listed directly within your RefWorks dashboard online. Now you do have the option to upload a document, but this works especially well if you have a scannable document, so a scannable PDF. What RefWorks will do is it will scan, the information from that PDF to build out your reference record. So if you had a PDF document that had scanned pages, and I should say scanned images of a book, RefWorks can't interpret images. So chances are that reference record will have a lot of incomplete fields or maybe entirely blank, and you may need to edit that selected reference. So again, you can always upload a document, but know that it has to be scannable, it has to be readable by RefWorks. The import references option I won't spend too much time on, but this is really only important if you are using a different research management tool, so something like EndNote, Mendeley, even Academic Writer, and you wanted to transfer those references from one tool over into RefWorks, and you can do that using a RIS file, a Research Information Systems file, which is a specifically coded file for research management tools like RefWorks. Third option you have here is to create the reference manually. Not ideal, but you may have a physical book in front of you that you need to get added to your reference list. So go ahead and I'll choose my reference type here, and you can begin to type the title of the resource. So we'll do the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now there is this lightning bolt. This is a RefWorks feature for autocomplete. So RefWorks will make recommendations for different resources that you intend on using. So let's just say I am using this first resource here. So you can see that it pre-populated the reference record, the form for me. But again, you want to make sure that it is accurate, that it is complete. So there is this weird character in the title that does not belong. So I'm going to delete that. I don't need First Fireside Edition. That's redundant. And then if I wanted to add any page numbers, any specific tags, but if all looks good, I can go ahead and save that particular reference. If we go back to my last imported, you can see that a minute ago we did save this reference. And again, RefWorks will flag certain areas of a resource if it thinks you are missing information. So this is just a temperature check of sorts. You know, are you missing editors, editions, a DOI number if available? So those are the 3 ways directly within the interface. I'm going to toggle back to our library homepage here. And the 4th way that you can add content to RefWorks is direct export through the library databases. And most databases do have a direct export option, so a button that allows you to send all of the information about the resource to RefWorks directly. So I'm going to do a quick search here within Roadrunner. And if you're not familiar with Roadrunner, Roadrunner is our central search for the library, and it searches the majority of the library's databases, resources, and content on a single search platform. But let's just say in searching Roadrunner, you wanted to add a particular resource to your RefWorks account. You can go ahead and click on the title of that resource, which will bring you to the record. And on this page, you'll notice that there are a series of tools on the right-hand side. Now, most databases do have a cite feature, so this will give you the citation directly within the interface of the search. But just like anything else, you always want to double check and make sure that it is accurate, that it is not missing any information. Just as the note here from Roadrunner says, pay special attention to names, capitalization, and dates. But if I wanted to save this particular resource to RefWorks, I will want to use the export option. And you can see that direct export to RefWorks has already been selected for me since that's our default, and we can go ahead and hit save. Now the next couple of screens will be a little repetitive, so it will ask you which version of RefWorks you're saving to. You can click on this box here so that it doesn't consistently ask you to choose between the versions, but we'll go ahead and save to the new RefWorks. And this screen will appear if you do have multiple projects in the works. So one thing I want to stress here is that you can only save one reference to a single RefWorks project at a time. So I can choose here which project I'm saving this reference to. So we'll stick with my dissertation project. And then we can assign it to a specific folder if we would like. So you can see I've got a list of my folders, but I'll just send it to my not in folder and then I'll file it away at a later time. And you can see that one document has been saved to my library and we're kicked back to our last imported screen. So you can see a few seconds ago, as soon as it loads, we'll be able to see this particular reference. Now, one thing I want to mention with direct export from the library databases is that it will save a link to where this resource lives within the NCU library. So you'll see this find full text using link resolver. I want to stress that with these links, they don't always work. The links may change. The links may break. Sometimes they route you to the publication and not the actual article itself. And this is important too because you all retain access to RefWorks as alumni. And these links will work if you're a current student, but they will change once you become an alumni and you may not have access to that particular link based on the resources available to alumni through the library. So one thing I recommend is that after you've saved a particular reference or resource to RefWorks using the direct export method, that you go the extra step to download that article and save the actual PDF to that record. And the reason is that you can treat RefWorks as a cloud storage system. So again, you can save all types of documents to RefWorks and create that database for yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and save this article here. And you can see that it's saved to my browser. So what I can do is I can actually drag this file into the record. So instead of me having to click back to this resource, hopefully the link isn't broken or doesn't give me any issues, by adding that PDF to this record, I'll always have access to the actual document. And I'll just do a quick refresh here. But ultimately, that find full text using link resolver link will be replaced with a read option. And I can show you what this looks like. Let me find a citation that has a PDF or a document attached. So this is what you'll look for. So again, you'll always retain access to this document. It'll be saved to that particular reference record, and at any point in time, you can refer back to the actual document. So by clicking on read, it'll bring me to the RefWorks reader here. I may need to refresh again. And here I can download that article again for myself. I can send it to print. Looks like it might take a little bit to load. But again, you can treat RefWorks as a cloud storage system. Right, so that is direct export from the library's databases. Again, most databases do have a direct export option, so you'll want to check the tools area in any database in order to utilize that. The last way that you can add content to RefWorks is using that Save to RefWorks tool, and I'll show you what this looks like using an article that we may have found on the web. So let's just say I wanted to save this article to my RefWorks. Give it a minute to load here. You can go ahead and click on that Save to RefWorks button. You can see that the tool is initializing. It's trying to read this page. And it might take a minute since my page is also still loading. But ultimately, it will pick out different pieces here on this page to build out that reference record. Now, while this finishes loading, I just want to go back to our RefWorks LibGuide. And there is more information here about the Save to RefWorks tool. So if you click on RefWorks Writing Tools and Plugins, you do have a section specifically devoted to the Save to RefWorks tool. I do want to mention that the tool does not work with all websites. So please know that for some secure sites like HTTPS, it may not be able to scan that web page. Also, you do have to have your ad blockers turned off and also allow third-party cookies on your browser in order for the tool to work effectively. So you do have a short video here that you can kind of refer back to for this method, but again, you'll want to pay attention to your settings. I have seen the tool fail with some government websites, so .gov, because government websites do not generally like their pages to be scanned by third-party applications, and they're set on secure sites. So know that if you are looking at a government resource or a municipal resource, that it may not work with that particular web page. But you can see here it's defined the type of reference, but I actually may want to switch this. This is actually a newspaper article online. It was able to pick out the title for me. It did recognize the author, but again, you want to double check it and make sure that there is no missing information. So it didn't pick up on the publication date, so I'll want to go ahead and add this for myself. And again, if there's any related information that you'd like to add, even tags, you can certainly do that. And if all looks good, you can go ahead and click Save to RefWorks. And again, those same choice screens, right? So which project am I saving to and which folder? We'll go ahead and import, and you can see that one reference has been saved to my RefWorks. And then we're kicked back to our last imported tab. So again, 5 major ways that you can add content to the tool. 3 of them are directly listed within your RefWorks dashboard online, and then the other 2 are external, so you do have direct export from the library databases and then the Save to RefWorks tool. All right, so we'll move into our last phase of the workshop, which is how to create a reference list. So now that you've added all of these different resources to your RefWorks dashboard, how do you create that reference list? So there are actually 2 ways that you can generate a reference list. The first way is directly through your RefWorks dashboard online, although I think many of you will prefer the second way through Microsoft Word, but I'll share both of them with you. So I'm in my, let's go ahead and go to my All References tab. Now we can select multiple references that we want included in our reference list. So I'll do a couple here, and if you're ready to create that reference list with those references, you can go ahead and click on Create Bibliography and Create Bibliography again. Now notice I do have the option up here at the top to use those references that I have selected or all references in my project. So I've got 411 in my dissertation project. This is another place here where you can set your citation style output. So again, you'll want to make sure that you have it set to that APA 7 sentence casing with the full DOI link. And then you can see here that RefWorks has kind of formatted my reference list. And I did this intentionally, but again, you don't want duplicate content. So this is what happens when you have duplicate references in your reference list. RefWorks will apply an ABC denaming convention to those references. But you can see that everything has been alphabetized. I do have my hanging indents. Again, you want to make sure that your references are accurate, that there is no missing information. So you can see that there's a little hiccup here where I'm missing a date. So I could either edit the record in RefWorks to correct that, or if I want to copy this to my clipboard and then paste it into a Word document, I can go ahead and edit that information, or rather add that information manually. So let me open up a Word document here where we can paste this information. So I've copied that reference list to my clipboard, and then I'll want to go ahead and keep the source formatting as I paste this information. And again, if I'm missing content, I can go ahead and add that in. USA should be in caps, right? And so should Netherlands, since that's a proper noun. So again, the tool is not perfect, but it does give you a foundation for APA style. And then I can go ahead and change this to Times New Roman. And then font size 12. And we'll use an automatic font color. So that's one way that you can create your reference list, is again going directly through your RefWorks dashboard and creating that bibliography with those selected references or everything in your RefWorks project. Now the second way is through the use of the RefWorks Citation Manager plugin installed directly through your Microsoft Word. And I think this is the way that you will prefer to use the tool to generate that reference list. But we first have to install it. So to install RefWorks Citation Manager, RCM for short, you'll want to open up a blank Word document, and then on your Insert tab, you do have an option to get add-ins, and this is where you can select different plugins and install them for Microsoft Word. So once this window pops up, you'll do a search for RefWorks, and you can see that I have the option to add the RefWorks Citation Manager. It does say may require additional purchase. I promise you're not paying for anything. Your subscription for RefWorks is already covered through the NCU Library, but you'll want to go ahead and click Add in order to get this installed into your Microsoft Word. And then what you'll notice is that an RCM tab is added to your Microsoft Word ribbon. And this is where you can go ahead and launch the application when you're ready to use RefWorks in Microsoft Word. So as you're typing either a research paper or your dissertation. Now, really important, if it is your first time accessing RefWorks Citation Manager through Microsoft Word, you will need to log in. Okay, I'm already logged in, so it recognized me, but you will need to use your NCU school email address, and then the password will actually be that alternate password that you have created. Okay, and again, that is because the NCU password that you use is not linked to this resource. There isn't a connection there, so you do have to use that alternate password in order to sign in. So just a quick little tour of RefWorks Citation Manager before I show you how to create your reference list. You do have your menu tab here, and we do have a couple different options. So this is another place where you can select your citation style output. So again, I've got mine set to APA 7th. If you have multiple projects in the works like I do, you will have this projects tab. So maybe, before I was working on my dissertation project, but now I'm working on my EDU 5800 project. Now this document and references, sometimes you may have added, let's just say, a handful of references, and for whatever reason, they are not displaying in RefWorks Citation Manager. You can click into your menu and hit this refresh to establish a reconnection with your RefWorks dashboard online. And then by default, the bibliography is turned off, so you will want to make sure that this is active in blue. That way, as you add your in-text citations, your reference list will be generated. All right, so let's go ahead and give myself a little bit of space here. But as you type your paper, you'll be citing different resources, right, throughout your research. So let's just say I've used this particular resource. I've cited this author or this series of authors. What I'll do is I'll click on Cite This, and you can see that it's added my in-text citation and simultaneously added that source to my reference list. And we'll add another one. So let's just say I cite another author. And we'll choose someone else here. So I'll go ahead and click on Cite This. So you can see that it's also alphabetizing my content as we go along. And we'll just add one more. So let's just say I use this particular source here. Right, so again, as we're adding our in-text citations, it's simultaneously adding those resources to my reference list. Now, a couple little quirks with RefWorks Citation Manager. You may not always use a parenthetical citation for your resources, right? You might use a narrative citation where you say according to said author, right? So in order for that author to appear in your reference list, you still have to use the Cite This option. So you can see that more has been added to my reference list, and what you can do at that point is just edit the in-text citation. So we don't need to mention the author again, we just need the year. So this is an edit that you can make if you're using a narrative citation. You also want to keep in mind that RefWorks does not know when you're using a direct quote, and usually, or notably, when you're using direct quotes in APA, you do have to include either a page number or a paragraph number. So let's just say I cite this particular author. It's a direct quote. You'll want to go ahead and add that page number. Now you'll notice that we had previously edited Moore's name out of the parenthetical citation. Any changes like this, you do want to wait till the end, so after you have finished your paper, because anytime you add new content using this tool, it'll kind of refresh the formatting on the page and revert back all of your changes. So make sure you make all of these changes after you're all done. That way they stick. So I'll go back here. But you can see, again, it's kind of alphabetized all of my references. I've got my hanging indents. Of course, we'll want to have the references page on its own page. And again, a couple things that we'll need to fix here. So APA, we use Times New Roman, font size 12, right? But again, it gives you a foundation for formatting your references, your content in APA format. All right, so that kind of brings us to the end of our workshop here. So couple of last minute things before we wrap our session. Again, if you do have any questions related to APA formatting or writing style guidelines, please connect with my teammates over in the Academic Success Center and review those amazing APA resources available to you. Again, if you do have any questions related to using RefWorks, please don't hesitate to reach out to the NCU Library. It's what we're here for. Feel free to book a one-on-one session through our RefWorks On Demand support service if you've got further questions following today's session. But otherwise, I hope you are feeling, again, if not fully confident, more comfortable in working with RefWorks after today's workshop. Keep me posted, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care, everyone.